Right, so we don't know each other, but I'd like to get to know you all a little bit. But I'd like to do it by taking you with me to a refugee camp so we can get to know each other the way that refugees do. So how many people have been to a refugee camp before? Raise your hand. Not too many. So this room is about 100-person capacity. Did you know that this is the rough population density of a refugee camp? That's not seating capacity, that's to live in this space. In fact, we're like double subscribed for our capacity. The person to your left will be here for 17 years. The person to your right doesn't even speak the same language as you. And in fact, in our camp, there are 25 different language communities. Through that door, an American medic comes for an hour once every 6 months. A Greek attorney comes once every 12 months. And a French trauma counselor comes once every 2 years to help all of you. Now, if we're lucky, we might have one person in our camp who speaks either English, French, or Greek and can translate for everyone else here. How many people have a relative that's a refugee? Raise your hand. Not too many. Well, my hand's raised because my grandmother was a refugee, and she depended on me for years to interpret for her. You know, we moved to the United States the week after 9/11, and so that fear of brown-skinned Muslim immigrants was rough. But I was a little luckier than her. She used to tell me, people can only judge me based on what they see. At least they get to hear you out, Atif. And so I think about her, and I think about the 36 million refugees, half of whom face language barriers, struggling to resettle, signing their kids up for school, applying for jobs, applying for asylum, fleeing climate disaster, Syrians, Afghans, Rohingya, Uyghurs, Guatemalans, Ukrainians, Sudanese, more and more. And so my last question to you all is, how many people here are bilingual? Raise your hand. A few more people. That's how I realized we could solve this language problem. And so my best friend and I are engineers, and we said, what if every bilingual in the world could volunteer as a micro-volunteer translator for refugees and immigrants right from their phone? And so in 2018, we launched Tarjimli, which means translate for me, a nonprofit with the mission of eliminating humanitarian language barriers and being the world's most accessible translator and interpreter service. Now, we do this through a growing army of 50,000 volunteer translators and an AI-enhanced mobile app. So I know what you're thinking, okay, volunteers, all right, is that gonna work? Can anyone guess here how many volunteers run all of Wikipedia today? Just shout out an idea. How many do you think? 1 million? How many volunteers? 115,000 volunteers manage the world's entire information store today. Just 115,000. So the translator and volunteer supply is there. We just made a way to train and enhance the effectiveness of deploying that community. And so what we've done with AI in the last 5 years is match people to the right translator at the right time for the right situation in 90 seconds. And where we're going with AI translation in the future is connecting AI translation with human translators. So we can actually create a feedback loop that builds the language data sets that are needed for machine translation to finally actually be reliable and useful in these under-resourced languages. And this is one of the critical layers and missing ingredients in reducing the digital divide. So the technology is cool, probably getting cooler over the years, but for me, it's the stories of these people that really gets me. A Tarjimli translator was there for a Syrian father who needed to tell the doctor his son was allergic to penicillin. A Tarjimli translator was there for a Congolese woman who waited months for her asylum interview, only to find out the day of her interpreter was unavailable. And a Tarjimli translator was there for a Guatemalan asylum seeker in a detention center who needed to tell their story to the attorney filing their case. And there are 96,000 stories just like this on Tarjimli. And so what I've learned in this work is that our sector needs to do a lot more in focusing on these foundational infrastructure issues that prop up other verticals in the humanitarian sector. Language is about a lot more than just being able to communicate with people. It actually improves the efficiency and accessibility of every single other sector and social service. And so in fact, with your language skills, you can turn barriers into bridges and empower millions of people, just like my grandmother, to have a voice and be heard. Thank you.